The guy that I want to talk a lot about today is Cam Whitmore, because Cam Whitmore, holy hell, per 36 minutes, you just looked this up, Forrest, 27.7 points per game, 7.4 rebounds per game, 2.5 steals, 63.2% true shooting. I tweeted the following last night right after watching the game. I'm going to read the tweet out right now. I'm getting very close to the point of believing Cam Whitmore is just a better prospect than Jalen Green. And that's not me saying Green isn't a good prospect. It's just me saying Cam looks more ... undeniable. That's what I tweeted. And it got 50 responses, right? Caused a lot of conversation. People felt really passionate about this one way or the other. My intention wasn't to start an argument or even say something controversial, because I feel like if you've been watching what Cam Whitmore has done in limited minutes for Rockets, like, let's add that caveat, right? Limited minutes. I think any Rockets fan who's watched Cam Whitmore this year that says they haven't had a passing thought about how good he is in relation to Jalen Green is lying. Like, even if you believe Jalen Green is better, if you're telling me you've never compared the two in your head after seeing how well Cam has played, you're lying. I don't believe you. And it's obvious that you're lying, because that's where one's head naturally goes, right?
Yeah. Well, I want to note, as you did, that this is on only a few minutes a game. He's playing, like 11-ish or something like that? That's low minutes. So per 36 is an extrapolation to 36 minutes per game. Efficiency tends to fall off as you play more, especially because you hit, endurance walls and stuff like that. So, yes, it's
better
not just
defenders.
a straight shot. Yeah, right. It's not just a straight shot to say that if he was starting, he'd be doing this, but scaled up. But what I'll say is that he's a rookie who hasn't played that many games, and he looks pretty good. And pretty good is really good for a rookie, because the thing that people don't like to talk about is that rookies kind of suck in general. They're even really good players have rough first seasons, because making a transition to the NBA is really, really difficult, and it takes a while to figure it out. He is balling out there. He looks legitimate in the minutes he's playing, especially lately. I love it. I'm having a fantastic time, and I wish him all the best. But one of all the best things might be coming for Jalen Green's starting spot, because yikes!
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this. He's definitely making a case to, like, stay in the rotation when guys come back from injury, right? And we're talking about Dylan Brooks is going to come back at some point. We're talking about Tari Eason's going to come back at some point. I'm thinking you might have to kick, like, a man out of the rotation. Right, like if it were me, I would probably just stick with Cam, because I think he's just been better, point blank. That's not a knock to Amen. I just think Cam's just been better. I mean, he's got one of the more NBA-ready bodies I've ever seen. I said this at draft time. The guy is just built like a man, right? Like, he's just built like a man, right? Like, he's a locomotive in transition. And he's basically a play finisher for the Rockets. He's not, like, initiating any of this stuff. He's just, like, dish to him and he'll do something, right? He'll finish. He'll make a three. He'll go to the basket. He'll finish like a freight train. Like that's what he's doing, right? He's not doing anything fancy. He's just making stuff, right? And another caveat: he was never this good of a 3-point shooter. And I don't buy that he's suddenly this 40-something% 3-point shooter. I don't think that's just asking for a lot. But if you're telling me he's like 37, 38 already coming into the NBA,
that's great.
That's serious. That's serious coming from behind of Jalen, right? Like, that is a lot that he's going to have to fight off.
Especially because he really fits what they need right now. Like, they don't... Like, the hope with Jalen was that he could be more than just a skilled two-guard, right? He'd be more than just a finisher, that he could also be a creator. He could be, like, an offense unto himself. The promise of the two-guard. It's what we want from every two-guard. And it doesn't look likely, and more importantly, that doesn't look necessary for this team, because they have offense coming from other sources currently. And look, they do need someone to take over from Fred VanVleet eventually. there's a time limit on how long Fred VanVleet's going to be the guy orchestrating the offense. It's not forever, but it's like a few years. And so they don't need that right now. What they do need is a guy who's consistently finishing, consistently attacking, and is incredibly athletic. Like, it's not just the fact that he's breathing down Jalen Green's neck, but that, like, he's not having to be the other thing that Jalen Green was trying to be or supposed to be. What he is what they need, not what he could be is what they need.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I actually don't think Cam is in serious threat to take Jalen's starting spot now.
Right? Well, not this year, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. As in, like, this year. Right? Like, I think has, like, enough organizational capital to kind of fight that off. Right? If as long as he keeps shooting the ball well. If he has another cold stretch, it's another conversation. Right? Like, that might be the danger zone, so to speak. Right? Because of how well these guys are playing behind him. But long term, there is no safety there for Jalen Green. No.
After this season, it is completely put up or shut up. I mean, there's a reality in which they make the playoffs this season. I think at this point it's not unreasonable to say. I think they're most likely going to be in the play-in hunt, and if they're lucky, they might even make it to a 6 seed. They need a bit of luck there because there's a lot of good talent in the NBA right around them, but they could totally win a couple games and get into the playoffs. It's not outside the realm of possibility at all. And they're not going to win a playoff series against basically anybody. But if they make it into the playoffs and they play Cam in the playoffs and he looks cool and fun and good, like,
you're going playoff minutes.
Yeah, go ahead. That's the big danger for Jalen. If Green, if they make it in the playoffs and Jalen Green is underwhelming and Cam Whitmore is at least just whelming, that'd be a huge problem for next season, Jalen Green.
Forget the playoffs. What if we're talking the play-in tournament and Jalen's having an underwhelming first half? Is he playing that fourth quarter with the season on the line? I don't think he's messing around. No.
Doak's not messing around. Yeah, no. In games that matter, he's going to play who he thinks he's going to get him to the finish line. They are not trying. Like, look, player development is still very important for them, but winning is also very important for them. And I feel like, all right, the front office aside, Ime Udoka seems like a kind of guy who winning is more important than player development. Not by a ton. Like, he is developing these guys, but when the chips are on the table, right, when it's coming down to it, he is going to play whoever he thinks is going to get a win, whether that is Jeff Green or whoever. It doesn't matter. In crunch time, if you're going to get him across the finish line, that's who's going to play. So, yeah, we have seen that, like, players do have to perform to get in the final minutes of games. Even Şengün has been sat for a couple games during that period when everybody was sick, and for good reason. So, yeah, it is going to be hard for Jalen Green to keep up. Which is funny we're saying is, given that he's actually been pretty decent for the last several games.
Yeah.
But there are other factors besides, like, the bar is raising for Jalen is the real problem. Like, he's pulling out of his slump, which is fantastic. I love that. But there are forces that are going to demand him to raise his standard of play, like, every game.